Hi everyone, welcome back to my travel diary. So for this day of the travel diary, we actually went to quite a few different places. Now, before I get into it though, I just want to apologize if you can hear a fan going in the background. It is very hot today and I'm just trying not to sweat. It is very hot. But anyway, let's get into it. So these locations that we went to today are some that I picked out just from looking around on Google Maps and trying to find some places around Fukui to go to just for today, because we didn't really have anything planned. So the first stop for today was this really nice place that I didn't expect to be anywhere near as good as it was. It was above and beyond what I actually thought it was going to be. So the place is called Yōkōkan Garden. Now obviously this is in Fukui, as I said before. So walking up to the entrance of this garden, I actually realized that there was a museum just on the other side of this little garden sort of area, just between the two places. We didn't actually go in there today. Maybe next time we go I might check it out. I think it's just like a local art museum, but it looks like it could be pretty interesting. Now with Yōkōkan Garden, it does have a entry fee. So the entry fee is about 220 yen per person, which is roughly $2 Australian. Now you can pay 350 yen per person if you want to get the guided tour as well, which we just decided to go with the standard entry fee for today. Now, just walking around, the garden here was really amazing. I couldn't help but think the whole time that I was there that I would love to come back to this location and just experience it during all 4 seasons, because I think it would be absolutely incredible. Now, unfortunately, we were here just before the autumn leaves had started to come in, so everything was still really nice and green, which is still really good to see, but I could imagine that this would look absolutely amazing during autumn. I don't really know what it is, but just Japanese gardens are so much different to what gardens are like here in Australia, and I feel like I'm just so drawn to them. I really find it just so peaceful just to walk around and explore different Japanese gardens, but this one was really incredible. I always really enjoy seeing koi swimming around in ponds like this as well. It's just another one of those things that just adds to how peaceful these kind of gardens feel. The sound of the trickling water of the pond and the wind blowing through the trees and the leaves rustling, all of it just made the whole experience just feel so relaxing and so peaceful. Now, while I was enjoying the sights of the garden and trying to get really nice shots, there was a point where I saw some koi swimming in the pond here, so I did try to just, catch them on the camera. Now, I hadn't actually realized it at the time though, but right above my head, there was about 4 or 5 huge spiders in this tree, which I'd actually just bumped my head on the branches while I was filming. It's a little bit tough to see in the footage here, but yeah, these spiders were huge and I see them everywhere in Japan. I don't know if they're venomous or not, but yeah, it was still pretty creepy having spiders that close. Not a big fan of them, as I think I mentioned in a previous video. It really makes my skin crawl knowing that I was that close and, they were right on top of my head basically. So after that, we decided to sort of head around to the other side of this little stone bridge. So there's an old man standing on the inside of the house, and he started talking to us. We didn't actually realize it at the time, but he actually worked there, and he was the tour guide. Now, because this particular day that we went, it was not very crowded at all. In fact, there was maybe 2 or 3 other people there at the time. So we actually offered a free tour to us, which was really amazing. We learned a lot about the history of this place, which was really incredible. So we headed around to the entrance of the tour. I love these cars. Oh, yeah, it's nice. Now, you can still go inside here without a tour, but with the tour, they do go over the history of Yōkōkan Garden. And it is actually a really interesting one, so if you do have time for it, paying that little bit extra to get that guided tour is highly recommended. Now, I don't know if they do the tour in English. He didn't speak that good English, so I don't know if anyone else there does give any English tour guides, but my wife obviously speaks Japanese, so it was fairly easy for us. Now this here is actually the main entrance, and you actually enter from the east. Now the property actually used to be much bigger than it currently is. However, due to natural disasters such as earthquakes and everything like that, it did gradually get smaller and smaller. A lot of the areas got destroyed and they never really got rebuilt to be part of Yōkōkan. So there actually used to be a big grand entrance to the building, like a big gate that you would have to go through in order to enter, but that was never rebuilt. That used to be much further away from the current entrance. Now these walls here are original. Although Yōkōkan was rebuilt about 30 years ago, these walls were kept original, and they actually have gold leaf on them that is quite faded now, but they used to represent clouds, which was there in order to represent like good fortune. Much of the floors, the walls, the ceiling and the roof have all been replaced. Now this location was actually home to an old king or emperor at the time. I can't really remember the exact details around who it was that stayed here, but the views from this room are absolutely incredible. I couldn't imagine living in a place that is just this peaceful and, you know, just being able to look across the pond every day. So after this room we moved over to the next room, which this one is actually like a tea room for tea ceremonies. Now my Japanese is not very good, but he did sort of explain a lot about the detail behind these doors, but honestly I have no idea what the history of them is, but they do look really amazing still. After the tea room, we headed over to this sitting room. Now the detail in this room was absolutely amazing. Like the detailed craftsmanship in these cabinets just looks incredible. Now these shoji windows are designed to look like clouds. Now the guide went into a lot of detail in regards to the reason for this room, but the short version is that the room itself was designed to sit back and enjoy the view pretty much, where you can look at the garden and see the moon and the reflection off the pond, with a bit of architecture in the background just for aesthetics. And the shoji windows create like a frame for the view, almost as if it's trying to turn the garden into a piece of art, which in a way it really is. So after the sitting room, the guide took us over to the other side of the house where we went into the bathroom. So back in the old days, this was actually used as a sauna. The steam would actually come up from the ground between these gaps in the wood, and after the sauna, the king or emperor would wash themselves, and then when they were done, they would lift this panel in the middle for the water and everything to run off into the pond basically. I would imagine this would have been a really nice place to relax, with the sounds of nature and running water all around you. Just being there, even not having a bath, was really relaxing, so I could imagine how much more relaxing it would be to actually bathe in a room like this. From the window from the bathroom, you could actually see all of these baby koi fish, because they actually breed them here. I was shocked to see just how many there were in the water. It might be a little bit hard to see in the video here, but all of these little specks in the water are actually koi fish. I was really surprised to see how big some of the koi fish got in the pond here. I hadn't actually seen koi quite so big before. The guide actually mentioned to us that some of the koi in the pond are actually German koi. I didn't really know there was a difference, but apparently there is German koi and their patterns are just a little bit different from Japanese koi. And yes, while I was walking through here, I did trip over this little step right here. Now you can really see from this window here just how many koi fish there were. They gathered close to the window because I guess this is just somewhere where they're commonly fed, and as you can see, they look like they're ready for food. Their mouths are just constantly open, looking up at the window. I was really amazed at how shiny some of these koi were as well. The colours and patterns of all of the unique koi are really amazing. The guide was actually telling us that depending on the size, the pattern and the colour, the koi fish can actually sell for a really high price as well, which was really surprising to hear. He said some koi can actually go for upwards of 1 yen, which is roughly 100 million yen, which is about $1 million Australian dollars. Now it does heavily depend on what the pattern is like and if it's symmetrical or if it resembles something. But yeah, it's really incredible that these fish are actually worth such a high price. With how tranquil and amazing this place is, I was shocked that there really wasn't many people there at all. Which I guess it being countryside Japan is, you know, it's definitely not going to be many tourists, but for there to be really not many local Japanese people here at the time either was still pretty amazing, because this place is just absolutely stunning. Now we actually noticed that you can get some koi feed for 100 yen and actually feed the koi. So we did decide to do that. Now we easily spent quite a few hours just sitting here, feeding koi, just relaxing. It was just an amazing place. We spent way more time here than we originally expected to, but yeah, it was a really incredible place, one that I highly recommend if you are ever planning on traveling near or around Fukui, which really isn't all that far from a lot of really nice locations. Yōkōkan Garden really is a hidden gem in the Fukui prefecture, and I highly recommend coming here. One of the greatest things about being in countryside Japan is, even with amazing places like this that have such incredible views and gardens and architecture, a lot of it feels really personal because, you know, there's not so many people around, so it's much easier to enjoy it. So after Yōkōkan, we were planning on heading to a place called Asuwayama Park. Now this is kind of like a mini zoo sort of thing. Now I did want to quickly mention that if you don't have a car, getting to Asuwayama is a little bit of a hike. It's quite high up on a mountain, like in the middle of Fukui, basically. Now while we were up that way, we did decide to stop off for lunch. There was a little chocolate dessert sort of cafe that was there. There wasn't really anywhere else to eat, so sweets is all we could really do for lunch. So this little cafe is just called Hiyori. They pretty much purely just do sweets. There's not really any savory stuff in there at all. So if you don't like sweets, this place probably isn't for you. They do sell quite a lot of different little treats for takeaway and a lot of different souvenirs or omiyage, which if you've ever been to Japan, you'll see like souvenir shops pretty much everywhere, or a souvenir section in shops as well. They're very common. The atmosphere in Hiyori was really nice. It was a really well designed cafe. And I decided to just go for the standard chocolate pancakes, which I slightly regretted after, because when my wife got her order of the special chocolate pancake, it was much better. They were actually really good. It had like a chestnut whipped cream on top, and it was really nice. So after lunch, we headed a short distance to Asuwayama. Now this place is really great. It is very small, which is kind of okay because around the areas there are a lot of different shrines and stuff like that you could go and look at as well. So it's easy to sort of add it into the day, and it is also free as well, so it doesn't actually cost you anything. Very worth it in my opinion. Now this place is also really kid friendly, and it was really amazing to be able to get up really close to some of the animals there. One thing to note though, the heat and humidity in this room is quite high, but you quickly forget about that when you're up this close with all the animals. It was really nice. And this little monkey here was just so adorable. And this was my first time being able to see a capybara in person. Seeing videos of them, they just seem like they've got such a chill personality, just like these little guys sitting in this little pond. I'm not too sure what kind of birds these blue ones are, although there was actually photos on the walls of all of the animals inside, and they all had names as well. Now this little guy here, he was really obsessed with this toucan. He just kept trying to follow it around everywhere. It was really cute.
He wants to play with the bed.
I didn't even actually notice when we first walked in that we walked right past this sloth that was sleeping. He's very camouflaged and he basically did not move the whole time that we were there.
You are just the cutest
I
thing.
never seen this small monkey. What kind of monkey is it? Hey, cutie.
Now we actually noticed that you can buy capybara food for 100 yen, which is really good because it's kind of like donations. So we decided to get some feed to the capybara, which was really fun. This guy here was pretty lazy. He just waited for food. I did try to lure him out of the pond, but he just wasn't having it. So he just sat back down because at the end of the day he knew that I was just going to give it to him anyway. This guy here, he was already eating and he just had no interest in what I had for him. But I guess the snacks that I gave to the other one earlier made him a bit hungry because he ended up coming out, so I gave him a little bit more as well. The sound these guys make are just so cute. They really are just like a big, giant guinea pig. This one actually wanted to go back into the water after eating, only to realise that it actually had been drained. He seemed really disappointed after that. I will say the one thing about Asuwayama is that it was very difficult to resist wanting to pat everything that's in there, which you're obviously not allowed to do. You're not allowed to touch them. But it was still really amazing and I highly recommend it. Now in the outside area around Asuwayama, they do have some other animals like guinea pigs and like some miniature horses and ducks and stuff like that. There wasn't really too much on the outside, although there were about 3 decent sized playgrounds for kids to play on. So if you've got kids and you're in Japan and, you know, maybe in the Fukui prefecture, this would be a good place. It is definitely very kid friendly. Now the next location that I found on Google Maps was this place called a culture park. Now I don't really recommend this place. Now on Google Maps it looked like this place was just fully vibrant with lots of flowers and decorations and just a really nice, stunning looking park. However, unfortunately, when arriving, there was only a few garden beds that were well kept. The rest of the park was fairly run down apart from this area, basically. It definitely wasn't anything like what was on Google Maps, although you can see it used to be. I would hope that because this area is so well kept that maybe they're planning on revitalizing the rest of it, and I think it would be an amazing park if they do that. However, just next door to the culture park there is a place that we did end up going to that was called Fukui Osagoe Minka Garden. And this was like a small preserved village of about 5 old houses. Now, this place is really amazing and I do highly recommend going here. And it is very, very close to Asuwayama. So if you do go there, then this place, you could add it into like a little day trip as well. It'd be very easy to just walk here. Now again, because this is countryside, we were actually the only people here. There was a small entry fee of just a couple of dollars, but it was definitely worth it. I highly recommend this place. Especially if you like old Japanese architecture, then you would definitely like this. Now, this place actually dates back to the 18th century, and I gotta say, I just really, really love the style of these houses. Now you can go inside all of these houses, although you do need to take your shoes off, just like pretty much most old traditional places like this in Japan. I've never actually been inside a house like this before in Japan, like just a really old normal house. Like I've been into shrines and things like that are obviously quite old, but not just a normal property like this. It was really incredible to see how well kept these structures were even after more than 200 years. I really regretted not bringing a camera light with me though, because it was quite dark inside, and when filming it really didn't pick up anywhere near as much of the detail as that I would have liked it to. Anywhere near as much of the detail that I would have liked it to. I'm not exactly sure how these roofs are made and put together, but I would imagine that it would have taken a lot of work. You can really see here just how much effort must have gone into putting these roofs together, just how thick it is. Now in here, this is like an old kitchen. It was really nice to walk through these houses and get an idea as to how life was back in these days, going back more than 200 years. Now this is an old outhouse which has the old squat toilet inside. So the third house here was a little bit haunting. After walking around with just the two of us for quite a while, only to see this. Now they had all of these set up to sort of show what these houses were used for. So it turns out these houses were actually used by farmers and merchants and stuff like that. When we first sort of walked up and just saw what looked like people inside just not moving, it was almost pitch black. It did startle us both just a little bit. These bags here are filled with rice, and there's a little display to show how they did it back then. All the houses were somewhat similar to each other, but it was still really enjoyable to walk around and just look inside each of them. And there are a lot of different sort of parks and stuff like that in the surrounding areas, but this place is definitely one that I highly recommend adding to the list if you're ever in the area. The fifth house here you could see was a little bit more run down than the other areas, and that's actually because it was the oldest. And you can see here just how old it must be. Plants are actually even starting to grow out of the roof. So that was it for today. I really enjoyed all of these locations, and I hope that you did too. And please, it would really help me a lot if you would like this video, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for future videos. And please let me know in the comment section below which location you liked the most. Now in next week's video I'll actually be showing off an air show that we went to in Japan. So I hope you look forward to that and join me in the next video. Bye.